Hello, I'm Ed Rabyd, otherwise known as the Rabyd Atheist, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Feel free to like or dislike the video as you see fit. So feel free to hit those buttons. Feel free to comment below, and I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell for more content as it is released. You're also free to share my videos as much as you would like. The purpose of this channel is educational in regards to deconversion and atheist issues, and we talk usually Bible theology and politics in relationship to those issues. Today is a Friday video, so I'm going to be addressing the comments that I've had this week. This is kind of the way I've chosen to deal with comments because I think it's a little bit more effective, and if I get the same comment over and over, then I can just deal with it once. And there have been a lot of comments this week with my deconversion story, with some of the things I've been doing addressing the JW track and letter that I received. So there have been a lot of good, interesting comments this week. And so I'm going to get right into it. About 6 days ago, EC writes, I agree with you 100% in terms of having so many doubts about whether the Bible is the Word of God and the facts serving as a basis to reject it. The most telling thing to me is that people like yourself who have studied the book and become a pastor cannot reconcile the nonsense that is written in it. Beyond that, think about how many denominations of Christianity there are. I am supposed to believe that God isn't a God of confusion, yet people have spent their lives dedicated to this book and still can't agree on which book should be included. Who wrote over half the books, or whether Jesus was a man, God, or both, and the requirements of salvation itself. I won't even get to all the contradictions. For example, it says God never changes in the book, yet God in the Old Testament is completely different from the New Testament. Come on, man. Recently I was in a discussion with somebody, and one of the things I brought up to him, if God is the author of the Bible, then it seems to me he would be intelligent enough and wise enough and big enough that he would write a book or inspire the writing of a book in such a way that there would be no doubt that it proved his existence. Such a God would know all the questions throughout history that people would ask about him, and certainly address that question, especially if that God is considered to be benevolent and loves us and cares for us and wants us all to go to heaven or paradise or wherever. And that's kind of, one of the things when you deal with the Christianity issues and the other issues when you deal with the Bible. As for me, studying the Bible for a long time, I have 2 degrees. I have a degree in biblical studies. I have a degree in theological studies. I went to get my theological studies degree because I still had questions after the biblical studies degree. And a lot of those questions still floated around my head right up to my deconversion that I never was able to address or reconcile. I dedicated an entire blog named All Things Rabyd to trying to reconcile the theological issues that I saw. And I gave it a best shot, but when I read my final conclusions, I'm like, holy crap, that's just nonsense and BS. So that's kind of where I was. So yeah, I get it. It's just the way it is. And that was from my last Friday video, Who's Deceiving Who. Also from that video, Free Bird of Reason, great talk, some interesting comments pushing religion on children is immoral. Let them live. Christianity condones cutting pieces of one-day-old babies. That there can be no excuse for it unless you have had the faith virus and had no choice. The channel name I use is because I'm Free Bird of Reason, being now free from religion, but the interesting thing, since I started my channel, I now do falconry. So what I'm getting at is, depending on how you look at it, the name fits both my reply, to which is originally was intended, and now my falconry channel. This is how people make its verses fit the need. Now I hear COVID vaccine is the mark of the beast. Crazy, dangerous words. Words have a terrible way of saving people. Keep smiling. Live to the full. Great video, Ed. Thank you, Freebird. You are always great, and you have some really good, insightful things. It is interesting. I was having a discussion like yesterday on Facebook about Revelation, and I basically made the remark that Revelation has got to be the craziest, weirdest, and obviously uninspired book of the Bible. It is batshit crazy. And one of the things I pointed out is you can literally make the book say anything you want to it, as evidence as the fact that you mentioned the mark of the beast. When I was a kid, the mark of the beast, let me see here. Here, I have one of my bottles of my supplements. It used to be this thing, this little barcode. Then it became other things. And, slowly but surely it's been these chips they want to implant under our skin. And now the COVID vaccine is the mark of the beast because it's going to contain one of these chips or whatever other BS that people want to do. The point is that revelation of all the books of the Bible, maybe right up there with Daniel and some of the other like visionary apocalyptic stuff of the prophets, you can do anything you want to with it to make it say anything you want to it. And that's the unfortunate part about it. And so, yeah, I'm not surprised that people are doing this, but good God, agree so much. Let's see, I got a few more about the part one of the reaction letter I received from the Jehovah's Witnesses, part one. King of Faith, XJW. The ideas of that living affair would not be enjoyable and that ceasing to is actually good is a tough sell, and I'm not buying it. But as an ex-Jehovah's Witness atheist, I do agree it's a fact of life. Yeah, I understand, my friend, that it's a tough sell. And the truth is always a tough sell because I am firmly convinced that we like the delusional world that we create for ourselves more than we like the truth. And the truth of the world is a much more harsh reality, in my opinion, because you're dealing with the fact that your life is finite. And because you're finite, you have to approach life with a little bit more caution, I think, because you don't want to necessarily risk that life for something that isn't valuable. I've heard stories, atheists have died saving other people's lives, and, in that death, they made some meaning for themselves. But at the same time, you gotta face that reality, and it's a tough sell. Don't get me wrong. And I think it's our survival instinct that we create stories for ourselves that say, not only are we going to survive in this life and prosper, we're going to survive death. And we create these mythologies to get us to do that. It is a tough sell, but it's also reality. King of Fate also marks in that same post, FYI, OWs don't believe in burning in hell. Most of them hope to live forever on earth, not in a lesser position in heaven. After you ignore their beliefs has a great deal of debunking them. They stop listening as soon as you misquote their beliefs. Yeah, I understand that, but I think I made the remark in a video that I was going to springboard to other beliefs that were related, and that's what I was doing. I probably should have made that a little clearer, that I was making the shift here, and I didn't mention that I know Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe that. The fact that they'll cut me off and turn me off because I misquote their beliefs doesn't really concern me that much with this series. My main interest in this is more of an exercise for myself where you look at what you've learned as an atheist in dealing with religion, particularly in my case where I deal with religious people a lot on a regular basis, pretty much. And a lot of people are still shocked that I'm an atheist, people that I've known for years. And it's like, they don't know what to do with me. I think it's more, I don't really get open hostility as much as I get, they don't know what to do with you. And that's part of the deconversion process. I was kind of talking that way, people in my community where I was a minister and I'm still at, still when I run into them, it's kind of like they don't know what to say. And I'm not really sure what to say either. But I'm not sitting here saying that, from my perspective, this is more about an exercise. And whenever I see something religious, regardless of who it comes from, what is my response to that? What are my basic atheist responses to, say, living forever or the end of the world or whatever? I've routinely, some of these comments I don't block, but I've had to block a few because straight up, they were just getting on my channel going, "You're going to hell," and all this stuff. I've had a couple of those, and they straight up, you're bringing about Armageddon, and when the Lord comes, you're going to face judgment and that sort of thing. And it's like, to me, those aren't very productive discussions. And so the fact that the Jehovah Witnesses may stop listening to you, I'm not trying to win them over. I'm not proselytizing them to atheism. I'm just laying out what I think about them. And so it's a little bit different exercise for me, and it's more personal, but I'm hoping that by doing it, other people will see, how you can address these issues. I'm still learning, and I'm certainly not an expert in the Jehovah Witnesses, and I would never claim such a thing. Actually, if you want a good guy for that, the Telltale Atheist is a former JW, and he deals with cults pretty much exclusively on his channel, and he does a very good job. Martha V, I look forward to your next video. Take care. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's always nice to be appreciated. Thank you. Freebird of Reason, 3 days ago on my deconversion story, part 1 of 2. Thanks for going through this. Looking forward to hear more. Very interesting story. It must have been very tough times, but you did it and now are free. Good luck with everything. Yeah, it was tough. For 3-4-ish years, trying to be something you're not, and by nature being a fairly honest person, is very difficult. But I didn't know any other way to make a living. And, I could have left and do what I'm doing now, but it's like I wouldn't have had the time to go back to school at the same time. And I'm getting older, and I'm realizing how valuable my good time is. It's not just time anymore. It's when I have the energy and the drive to do something, I have to focus. And so those times become very precious to me. But back then, it was just a convenient thing to go to school all week long and then pastor the church on the weekend. Even though I didn't believe, I still did the job, and nobody complained about how I did my job until the end, when the affair came to light. But other than that, it was tough on a personal level. It became more and more difficult as time went on. The second part, Freebird also comments, thanks, Ray. It sounds real that your journey was tough. Must have been difficult being positioned as well as dealing with the mental side of leaving a religion. Speaking on sin, it's like water to can't get a hold of. So many standards. It's not written on our hearts because there's so many different standards. It's like telling a child to be good, or Father Christmas will not come. A child's good. The child is very innocent. If belief is all you have to be saved from sin, then why sacrifice a human? I understand all the doctrines, excuses for blood sacrifice. The sacrifice of a living creature for sin is inexcusable. It's not spoken about unless you really think about it. Slaughter of living creatures to cover my thoughts in a Stone Age spell. Sin comes from religion. We are whole, not damaged. Keep smiling. Yeah, I get what you're driving at. One of the big changes when you reject the idea of sin as being a real concept and you realize it's just made up by religion is you begin to look at the nature of humanity and the nature of yourself quite differently. I don't see myself as an evil person. I don't see myself as a sinner in need of being saved. I see myself as a human being trying to make my way in this world as best I can. And I believe that the best thing that we can give each other is freedom and liberty to act as they see fit, as long as they're not harming anyone else. I don't really care how people act. And so that's kind of where I stand on it. But sin, for a long time, and the deconversion issue about sin is you have all these thoughts that kind of have led down this path while you were a believer. You're a sinner, you're a bad person. You're a sinner, you're a bad person. Once you realize that the whole rationale for calling yourself a sinner is gone, you don't have any rationale to call yourself a bad person all the time. Are you going to make mistakes? Are you going to make bad decisions? Yes. But, you can most of the time fix it. And then if you can't, you can't. It gets a little bit easier to accept who you are as a person when you dump some of that stuff. And I appreciate that, that comment because it is the issue for deconversion, because most of what we deal with in deconversion is the fact that we've told ourselves a lot of bullshit, and it's conditioned our brain to think a lot of bullshit about ourselves and about our relationships. And I think that's kind of, where things need to change. So, JBone2345 one day ago, you look just like Stallone. Oh man, that is the second time, I think, or the third on this channel that I have gotten that. Yeah, I know. My eyes are kind of, the eyelids are puffy like he is, and I do have that look. I don't know. I'm not Italian, so I don't know how I look like the Italian stallion, but I'm not sure if Sylvester Stallone was Italian either, or just played one in the movies. So I get it. Thanks. I actually was a big Sly fan many, many years ago, and still am in some ways. I think, though, I haven't watched a lot of his later movies, but I was a fan of him back when he was doing, Rocky films. I mean, it's just a really good film. But after that, the sequels kind of get repetitive. But it's just kind of, it's something that I've gotten on several occasions now, and I think that's kind of interesting. Freebird of Reason, 5 hours ago, edited. Letter I received from a Jehovah's Witness. This is just like yesterday that I posted this video. So, there is suffering from the natural. I'll mention just one. The human boat fly laying eggs in a human, the infection from bacteria, pain and suffering in all degrees of all ages. When this fly was created, was it a mistake or from love? Evolution gives a far better answer. There's so much suffering we can't blame on sin. Symbolic, parasitic relationships are from a very loving creation. These differ, but all have a host eaten alive. Yeah, I mean, where the heck did these creatures come from? If they were originally created perfect in an unfallen world, it doesn't make a lot of sense for some of these creatures to have existed. Yeah, it's one of those things that doesn't make a lot of sense in the light of religion, but in my opinion, evolution does make a better explanation of it. Jeff, wow, just a little bit of glow on the channel discussion. Well done on the JW2 letter. It's interesting that normally I would pass by an atheist channel, but I listen carefully. A lot of our worldviews are very similar. I'm not an atheist, but I think our commonality boils down to critical thinking. So your dialogue about the truth is well received. You're right. How arrogant for people to just follow the idea that only they can be saved by virtue while believing that this irrelevant 19th century startup cult religion cult has the truth. I had an expression my whole life. I resent it. It is such a narrow-minded outlook in view of your pointing out the smallness of us in contrast to the vastness of the cosmos. Interesting that the JW truth has changed over and over through the years, that at every point we have always insisted it is absolute truth. If you challenge a particular doctrine overtly, you will be dealt with, even if you're proven right later. Anyways, your take is appreciated and interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, as far as not being an atheist, everybody's welcome here per se, but I have a certain couple of rules to protect the non-believers in the audience. Mm-hmm. I kind of view this as a slight safe haven for any free thinker who just wants to come and talk about some of their issues. One of the biggest problems that a lot of us have is when we start an atheist channel, it's like it's a challenge to all the believers in the room to come and prove us wrong. And I don't get it. I don't really think much about it most of the time. But at the same time, I'm happy that, yeah, I mean, boy, we just try to have a good time here sometimes. And I'm just trying to lead a discussion. I'm an expert in what I'm an expert in. So when somebody says you don't know what's in the Bible, I kind of, yeah, I do. Or I don't know about how the Bible was formed. Yeah, I do. The issue, as you put out for the truth, yeah, there is no such thing as the truth. There's a lot of truths that you can discover, but we are very much a small little speck in the middle of a very, very large world. And I think that's something that humbles you. A lot of people say that atheists are arrogant, or people that are free thinkers are arrogant when they reject religion. I don't think we're arrogant. I think we've just realized what true humility really is, which is you realize that you're not the center of the universe, that there isn't some big cosmic sugar daddy that came down to earth to die just for you. There's a lot of arrogant presumption behind most religions that there is this truth, and I just don't get it. We know so little. I mean, despite all of our advances in science and some of the great things that we have discovered about our universe, we're still kind of frogging around here in the dark. But science keeps giving us a little bit more light and a little bit more light. And so, eventually uh, I think, we'll find a humanity that's a little bit better and a little bit better. I appreciate the comment. Thank you, sir. I'm, I, but you're welcome here, even if you're not completely an atheist or a non-believer. It's just I respect respectful dialogue, and when it gets non-respectful, that's when I usually take action to protect the people here on this channel that view this as a haven to come and just listen to somebody that's going through deconversion. I think the most people that find themselves at home here are usually the deconverted from something, and they come here and they go, yeah, thanks for giving us a place to talk about what it means to deconvert. So that's kind of where we stand with it. Thanks this week for all the comments. I appreciate them. It's been a real wild week. One of the things I've noticed is the number of subscribers has jumped up substantially. I want to thank all of you for subscribing. That if you've done that in the last month, I appreciate it. Any like, subscribe, share, comment gets the channel noticed. So, and the more it's noticed, the more it seems to find its way into the YouTube algorithm. And I appreciate that because I haven't had a week or a couple of week period where I haven't grown. I've had a few setbacks. I think if I had all the followers that I've had, I would be up to 75 or something like that. But there's been, probably a dozen or so that have decided that they have better things to do. And I understand that. Not all of it was, this guy's a waste of time. Some of it was, I'm just not really into this channel. That's cool with me. This channel, no channel on YouTube is for everyone. So it's just kind of the way it works. And I'm thankful for that. And I want to thank everybody for stopping by. And if I haven't already, hopefully someday I can convince you to be a rabid atheist like myself. In the meantime, this is Ed Rabyd, also known as the Rabid Atheist, signing off and wishing you a good day.